Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the PSGL YouTube channel. We are finally back here for the for round number 6, I believe this is. Just 1 second, everyone. Going to get our faces on the screen, and we are back for PSGL. My name is Dan, and I'm today being joined by Chris Buxton. Chris, how are you doing this evening?
Always a pleasure to be alongside you, Mr. Field, and we once again will be blessed by the best in the F1 esports arena. It is indeed round 6. We head to Mexico for a very tight and twisty circuit. We were at Spa last time out. It was McLaren again on the top spot in the form of Lucas Blakely. Just 1 point separates Borman and Blakely at the moment to the man from Iran's favour, and then a 22-point gap back to Frederick Rasmussen. But with half the season still to go, it could still all change.
Absolutely. 5 rounds down and 5 left to go, and this circuit certainly provides some challenges. A lot of drivers are going to be picking up some penalties today, so we do need to watch out for that. But this is just to mention before we get underway, it's my first race back as the full-time F1 commentator. Very pleased to be back in the top flight as I was in season 30. It's some big shoes to fill in the name of George Morgan, who made his departure last week, but I'm going to try my best, and I'm happy that I'm being joined by Chris for this evening, and I'll be joined by Jack in the coming weeks. But Chris, it is really going to be a fun one today, and I hope we can make the most of it.
Oh, it is always good, isn't it? These guys never fail to entertain us. So, yeah, really looking forward to it. Always do, every week. I look forward to it, and I say it every single time. It's a broken record statement, and I do not apologise for saying it either. It is going to be phenomenal. So, three-phase qualifying. Weather tends to be fairly good in Mexico, but when it rains, crikey, does it go for it. So, it's a bit like Spa in that respect. So, rain is fairly rare, but who knows which way the weather's going. It was interesting last time out. As I say, the win went to Lucas Blakely, then second went to Mr. Beresnay. So, I mean, that's his first podium of the season. It's been a rough ride for the Alfa Romeo driver. And third was Brendan Lee, so the Ferrari driver on the podium for the second time in this season, with the champion Jarno not scoring any points last time out and currently sits fourth, 23 points behind Borman, but just 1 point behind Freddie Rasmussen. So, as we said, so we still have another 5 rounds to go. We're only halfway through the season. It's still all to play for. As usual, the points gap at the top is very close.
Absolutely. Let's just have one more look at our results from last week. Lucas Blakely took the win with Danny Beresnay taking second place, and then Brendan Lee filling out the podium spots. It was a fantastic run for Wilson Hughes. He was able to take fourth place, and Barry Borman in what I would say for him is a low position in fifth. Marcel Kiefer once again maintaining his consistency. He is in sixth, if I'm not mistaken. It is him and Borman. They're the only drivers to have finished inside the points in every single race they have competed so far. Jake Benham took 7th, and 8th was Yoni Tormala, and rounding out the top 10 was 2 reserves of Samuel Bean and Philip Presneda. And let's see how this result affected your driver's standings. Barry Borman still does lead the way, but it is by a mere 1 point to Lucas Blakely, who's in second with 50 points. Freddie Rasmussen in third, 1 point ahead of Jarno Watmir, and Brendan Lee's not too far behind in fifth either. Thomas Ronhaar continuing to impress this season, sees himself in sixth place, and then Marcel Kiefer in seventh on 19 points, just 1 point ahead of Wilson Hughes and Danny Beresnay. And rounding out the top 10 is Fabrizio Donoso, who is just 1 point behind Hughes and Beresnay. Let's have a look now at our constructors' standings, and I think it is pretty clear who is out on top. McLaren are unstoppable at the moment. They have 101 points to their name. It's a fantastic season that Borman and Blakely are having so far. Their closest rivals are Red Bull Racing at the moment, who are only on 48 points. Scuderia Ferrari is in third place with 43 points, and the Mercedes a little ways back on 28. Alfa Romeo on 21 points in 5th, and Alpine on 18 points in 6th. Haas have 17 points and Williams have got 13, and then Alpha Tauri are in 9th with 10 points, and Aston Martin, Chris, yet to get off the mark so far in season 31. It has been a rough start for their drivers of... I've gone to the advert. There we go. Sorry everyone, I bumped my mouse and it pushed it put us over to the advert, and then I had to scramble to get it back on our screens. I do apologise about that, but as I was saying, Aston Martin have struggled so far. John Evans and Simon Weigang, neither of them have been able to score a point today, and you'd hope for their races, but I'm actually seeing in the lobby at the moment they have 2 reserves in their seats, so struggling Aston Martins.
Yeah, sadly so. I mean, Simon Weigang posted earlier on today that he really was unwell. I'm not sure where of John's whereabouts, but yeah, we've got Philip Schneider and Ruben Pedreño standing in the Aston Martin shoes this time around. And it looks like, and it is indeed, the countdown has begun. We're 20 seconds away from Q1 in Mexico.
Here we are then. We have 18 minutes of the first session in qualifying, where the drivers are going to be battling out for a top 15 place to see themselves advance into Q2. You can hear the ticking going on just in your ears now. So we are about to get ready to get underway. Let us know in the live chat as well who you are supporting for this evening and who you think is going to get pole. We will be heading into qualifying right at the end. Of a quick word from our title sponsors at GT Omega. And so we are getting ready to head into Q1. Hopefully it is on your screens now, and there it is. So nice and sunny here in Mexico. And Chris, who are we going to expect to come out the pit lane first? I know that we do typically see Tomek Perez coming out first, but who's your bets on to come out the pit lane?
Well, absolutely no one's moved just yet. I wouldn't be surprised if our reserves come out fairly early on. So I'm looking at our Aston Martin pair, Pedreño and Schneider. As for anybody else, I mean, reach into a hat and grab a name out of it. I mean, it could be absolutely anybody, but no. Oops! Just as I say that, I can see it's a Red Bull. One of the Red Bulls has moved, so my prediction was completely wrong. Fantastic. Out comes the Mercedes. Not sure who it is that's moving. Who is it? It's Rasmussen. So Freddie Rasmussen is first to break cover. And what tyres is he's got full wet tyres, of course. It's the usual F1 thing. Come out on the wet tyres. It's Danny Moreno that's come out right behind him. And now a few more people filtering out on completely the wrong tyre. Yeah, someone will come out in road tyres soon. Why not? Just mix it up a little bit. Who else has come out? Patrick Sipos and Carter Lundy are now on track. But first man out is the Red Bull of Freddie Rasmussen.
I mean, we normally see the intermediates at the beginning of Q1, but we never do see the full wet tyres. So Freddie Rasmussen being a pioneer of sorts, and he's just... I mean, I respect it completely, and I'm seeing people asking if it is wet in the live chat. It is not.
No.
We are just using... They typically, the drivers just check everything is all right, but going out on circuit on a set of the intermediate tyres, just so they know if everything is all right with their wheels and such, because you never know what problems can occur, and they don't use a set of the tyres. But we do get to watch a short little run on the intermediate on the wet tyres. Brought to you by Freddie Rasmussen. You've just seen he's gone through the stadium section. That's one thing I really do love about this track, is that it takes use of, I believe it was an old baseball field there, and now they've turned it into the grandstands, and it is one of the most iconic shots. And I know that the podium is around there. It's normally by the start, finish straight. But I suppose Mexico, they're just doing their own thing, and I really do like it. Mexico, it is such a special circuit, and there's always a great atmosphere whenever Formula One enters this wonderful country, and I hope that the PSGL drivers tonight, Chris, can do the exact same.
I don't think there's any danger of that. I think we're on for a good show. Whatever the weather or whatever our drivers choose to do, it is going to be spicy. Yoni Tormala has followed. Well, he had followed the example of the full wet tyre, but he just did an installation lap, so he's come straight back in without actually putting a time on those wet tyres. Someone else, I can't see who, Matthias van Erven in the Haas, has also just come straight back in. One of the Astons now breaking cover. Who is that? It's not Pedreño, so it must be Preschneider. Yes, it is. Again, intermediate tyres. No one has come out on the slicks yet. No movement from the top, other than Preschneider, the top 6, or certainly the top 6 on my list. I'm assuming it's the same for you, which is Donoso, Benham, Borroman, Hughes, and Donoso, and Beresnay, beg your pardon. None of them have moved yet, so those that are armed with the soft tyres have not shifted yet. So Valentin Bruffa, I hadn't spotted his name in the list. So that's another of our reserves that's hopped on board. Now sometimes coming onto the board that we can pretty much ignore. 119.3 and 119.1 and an 18.8. Why not? From Perajic, who got a bit of a... did he get a penalty last time out? His name was in a steward's inquiry. I was reading earlier. Was he the one being avoided? No, he was. No. He had 15 seconds added to his final race time because him and Caraton were involved in a bit of kind of DRS detection chicken, essentially, and it caught out Simon Weigang and Yoni Tormala. So they caught damage because one wanted to be behind the other to get DRS, and they both got penalised for it, did Caraton and Perajic. So nothing that carries over to today's race. It was license points and times added to their final race time last time out. So clean slate for today. And the only ones setting a time are the two Mercs, Jarno Otmir and Danny Moreno, with Patrick Sipos and Perajic. Everyone else has come back into the pits. And we might have a bit of a quiet Q1 this time around. But then, certainly last week we had somewhat inclement qualifying, or certainly the threat of rain. So we had a very constant series of lappings going on. But today, no such luck. And it's just Jarno Otmir that's out there sliding around on his very hot and very dead intermediate tyres.
Yeah, we typically don't see a lot of slick laps coming out to around about the 10-minute point, so we have a little bit of time to wait. And I've noticed in the live chat, someone's asked if it's true that Jake got a 5-second time penalty for being too late. One of the head admins at PSGL, Kryptonite, has said yes to that. So that means that Jake Benham has actually got a 5-second time penalty for being late this evening. I know that they have to join, I think it's 5 minutes before the race starts, so they had to be in the lobby by 5 minutes past 7 this evening, BST of course, and that is not the case for him. He might have just joined a minute or two late, but he has got a penalty, and hopefully I am right in saying that, unless I just caught Kryptonite replying to someone else. But now, Chris, on circuit, we have nobody. It is a complete...
No one. It is barren out there at the moment. But yeah, Jake Benham was actually the last one to join. And also bearing in mind that the actual lobby was 10 minutes delayed because of feared issues, Codemaster's side. So Jake Benham didn't really have an excuse. So he's earned the eye of the stewards before we even turned a wheel here in Mexico. And yeah, this is rather what I feared if it was going to be bone dry in the session, that no one would be out there. And that is exactly what we face. But thankfully, we don't have this very often. Generally, you do have some laps going on, even if it's just a few cars out there. You generally have a few that just keep the laps turning. But this is a real tyre muncher, so I'm not really surprised that people aren't burning up their tyres or too eager to burn up their tyres too quickly. At the moment, whilst everybody other than Freddie Rasmussen has put the soft tyres on, still no one is moving.
Yeah, Freddie's he might be committed to this wet tyre setup. I mean, if he's going for it, then fair play to him. I don't think it's going to get him very far. He is one of two drivers that needs a massive haul of points this evening to catch up to the two McLarens, the other being Jarno Opmeer. Of course, Freddie and Jarno there sitting third and fourth at the moment, and they are behind by over a race win behind the two McLarens of Barry Bormand and Lucas Blakely, so they do need to get a good race out here this evening with only half of the season remaining. We are seeing some activity down in the pit lane. It is Big C. It's Big C's personal bank here. It's Carter Lundy coming out of the pit lane, and he is one of the reserve drivers filling in for Sebastian Job this evening, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not too sure where Sebastian is, but it's great to see younger drivers coming in to the top of league racing and just dipping their toes in and seeing what it is like to race with the likes of Jarno Opmeer, Freddie Rasmussen, Marcel Kiefer, all of these big and established names. So it's great to see that Carter is pulling in today, and this is sort of what we see. It's like well, I'm not too sure what effect it is, but essentially when one driver comes out, everyone else decides to leave the pits, and we're seeing a whole flurry of drivers exiting the pit lane. And Chris, we're going to see laps come out thick and fast.
I'm not really sure why everybody is flooding out now, but I can understand people leaving it very, very late, but quite why everybody is streaming out with just under 9 minutes to go is a bit of a mystery. However, it does give them plenty of time to get a few laps in. It's not a very long lap at Mexico. It's not, it's no Spa in that sense. I think everybody, just sort of double checking who hasn't come out. Jake Benham hasn't moved. No, Donoso's coming out. It's just Jake Benham. He's the only one to not move. So everybody else is on track. And Carter Lundy, he's going to be horribly held up if everybody doesn't jump out of his way. He's the first one on a time lap in this conga line.
Yeah, we'll see. He's got a Ferrari who pulls out of the way very nicely. I believe that is Donoso. There's two Mercedes up next of Jarno Opmeer and Danny Moreno, and then one of the Alfa Romeo drivers. But let's have a look and see what Carter Lundy can do as he heads down this back straight in towards the second sector. It's a 28.496 for the Canadian driver as he heads to one of the slower parts of the section, a double right-hander up next where you use all the extremities of the circuit as a Mercedes just peeling off to the left-hand side, getting out of the way. Now for the tricky part, Carter Lundy has got to navigate through the S's. So easy to run slightly wide, and it's so difficult to also follow around here, but he has managed that very well as he now heads in towards the third sector. He's on a 56.501, headed towards now the stadium section of the track, where he's going to head through this hairpin slow speed section here, and then running it out wide to the left and cutting it over to the right through the final corner. Tricky traction zone through here, keeping it pinned to the inside line. Carter Lundy's going to cross it first, and it's a 15.6 for him. We'll see who comes to the line next. It's Wilson Hughes going to be the next one. He is able to clear him by 0.3 of a second. A fantastic run from him. Valentin Bruffer is able to go into second place. Then we have one of the McLaren drivers of, I believe, Lucas Blakely coming up to the line. He goes to the top of the order by a further 0.3 of a second. A fantastic run from him there. Yoni Zormel is able to get himself into second, just ahead of Tomek Parajas. Let's have a look and see where the Iranian driver of Barry Burman can go. Matthijs Van Erven's gone fifth, and Burman goes into second by 0.6 of a second. Wow, that is so far. Not even, what am I saying? So far, so close, so marginal between the two McLarens. Wonderful to see. And once again, Chris, they are the clear-cut leaders at the moment.
The heat's getting to you, isn't it? Oh, Freddie Rasmussen, same gap again between him and Boromond as it is between Boromond and Blakely. Straight. So, Freddie, he's not giving up the chase at all. As we said, he sits third in the championship, but 22 points back. That's more than a race victory behind. What it needs is disaster for the McLaren pair for that to come good again, as the last initial laps are starting to come in. Donoso coming over the line of 15.3 for him. Who's next? Perez Schneider, you're some way back. Benham, you're just coming over the line. 15.4. And what about Staolek? You have invalidated. So, as has Brejnader. So ignoring Sipos and Moreno at the moment, who look like they've invalidated their laps and have carried on going, at least for the time being. 6/10 is first to 16th.
And it is incredibly tight margins at the moment. One lap time I'm quite surprised about is Jake Benham, only 15th place, and if we take out Sipos and Moreno's intermediate time, well, I think Sipos actually did that on the slicks, but he clearly was not pushing. It is not looking good for Benham, and actually Sipos is on a run and he could place Jake into that drop zone. We'll see him headed through the S's section now, and it definitely seems like Patrick Sipos is pushing. Let's see his delta. He's up by 2.5 seconds. If he can find more time in this final sector, he is going to be inside that top 15 that you need. You don't necessarily have to be first in Q1, you just have to be at least 15th to advance to the next session of qualifying. Avoid that drop zone if you can, as here comes Sipos to the line, only 16th. So he did find time. He found over 3.5 seconds on his previous best lap, but he is 5/10 off the back of Jake Benham, and in that drop zone being joined by Carter Lundy and Danny Moreno, along with Philip Presnader and Piotr Stahelek, who weren't able to set a valid lap time. So those guys have got to get a run in the last 4 minutes of this Q1 session if they want to see the next part of qualifying.
Indeed. Carter Lundy straight back out there in the Alpha Tauri. So, he's in the drop zone. He's going to try and push. The young Canadian is wanting out of that drop zone, and Brendan Lee has parked it. At 15-1, I'd say that's probably a fair bet to get through to Q2. At the moment, we're looking at 15-4. I reckon that's going to drop to probably a 15, low 15-3, 15-2-ish. In this last flurry of laps. It depends actually how many people come out to try and improve. As Blakely, one-hit wonder from the Scotsman and the man from Iran as well. The McLaren pair happy with that, and that's going to take some beating. Keep an eye on that one. We are going to be, generally you'll see each qualifying session getting quicker and quicker. Yes, so that's a hell of a benchmark to set from the outset. Piotr Stahelek is back out on track as well, as Carter Lundy just coming through the final turn to start what will be his final time lap with less than 3 minutes to go. We're in the Banzai phase.
Absolutely, and a lot of drivers coming out on circuit. Carter Lundy's going to have to weave his way through the traffic once again, but he is, I guess that's a price that you pay for coming out very early, but given the driving standards in PSGL, PC, F1, the very pinnacle of league racing, these guys are pretty handy at getting out of the way of their fellow competitors as he heads in towards the first sector split. What is his improvement? He's up by just under 0.2 of a second. It's looking good for Carter Lundy already. If he can get himself into around about the 1 minute 15.2s, I'd imagine he is going to be firmly into the next session of qualifying, unless everyone in behind does improve, and a lot of these drivers are actually close to the 15.2s. Look at Hughes, Berejnay and Donoso, so close in time, altogether separated by 0.07 of a second. But Carter Lundy, once again, he is improving on this lap. He's on a upward trajectory of setting around about where Matthijs van Erven is. It's not going to be great for Carter, especially since everyone is out on circuit behind him, aside from Freddie Rasmussen and the top 5 in generals. Here comes Carter Lundy to the line. He can go 9th position, but will that see him into the next session of qualifying?
It's kind of in the region I was thinking you'd need to aim for. So, lots of people then are on their time lap now, and pretty much everybody has got traffic to deal with. As yellow flags will come out, of course, with people slowing down. I think Pedreño's invalidated. So 15.3 is as good as his lap's going to be, unless he's dragging his brakes, so he's recharging his ERS to go again. He's got time to do it. So, it's going to be a very do-or-die effort for Pedreño. Oh, Christ, I don't even know who's next over the line.
It's Jake Benham.
Jake Benham, okay. Where is he? 16th, so he's at the top of the drop zone at the moment. He's got... Is that Presnader ahead? No, that is the other Aston of Pedreño already ahead of him. What does Benham get on the board in the Haas? It is 15.272, so that jumps him into ninth briefly as Valentin Bruffer comes over the line to take what was ninth as is that Otmir that's just come out? No? Who's just come over the line? Starlek. Yes. Piotr Starlek has just done his lap. Donoso has jumped up to fifth, so oh my god, there's laps all over the place. Schneider was that?
We've got Danny Moreno coming up to the line, and oh, Danny, not a good time for him there, and he is out of qualifying, not going to be able to push for another lap here. Let's see who else is in that drop zone. We've got Parajic coming up towards the line now, and he is going to cross it and go into fifth place, secure into the next session. Joni Tormala is going to survive. What about Danny Bergene on the cusp at the moment? Can he eliminate Carter-Lundy and try see himself into Q2? Indeed, he can. A fantastic lap from him there. Matthijs van Erven is pushing, but I believe that it is Stahalek pushing it, not Stahalek, Pedreño pushing in front of him, but unfortunately for him, he's not on a quick lap. His day is going to be over, as is for Patrick Sipos. He has invalidated this attempt, so it's all on Matthijs van Erven now to see himself into the next session. He's slightly down on his previous best. All he needs is about half a tenth even to
half a second to do it.
He's got half a second to do it. We'll see what he can do as he through now the final corner. What can he do as off the exit now Matthijs van Erven, the Dutchman, almost spinning across the line, ruins his attempt there. And that is his day at the office over. Your bottom five: Carter-Lundy, Ruben Pedreño, Matthijs van Erven, Danny Moreno, and Patrick Sipos.
Wow. So Danny Moreno, a shame he's still struggling towards the tail end of the points board. So Carter, that's again a very mixed season for Carter thus far, isn't it? I'm trying to find where he is on the where is he on the championship order. Well, that's my eye deceiving me. I can't actually see Carter-Lundy on the championship board.
I think it might be his first race this season.
Is it really?
Yeah, I mean
that would be why I can't find him then. But from performances I've seen Carter in the past, he's struggled at times. Pedreño, as we know, is reserving this time around. Jake Benham, 8,000. He managed to squeak through. So it was indeed a high 15.2 was needed to get through to Q2. So we know the procedure. Everything resets and we go again.
Absolutely, where you finished in that top 15 won't matter anymore, but let's have a run through the classification anyways. Lucas Blakely topping the session by 6 thousandths of a second ahead of Barry Borman. That was their banker times. They didn't come out for another attempt. The same goes for Frederick Rasmussen. Jarno Otmir was able to get up in to fourth, and Marcel Kiefer in to fifth. Tomek Parajic managed to take sixth and then seventh for Fabrizio Donoso. Brendan Lee in 8th, 9th for Danny Berejne, Piotr Stahalek 10th, Tormala 11th, Hughes 12th, 13th for Prejneda, Valentin Bruffer on 14th, and then Jake Benham just surviving. Carter-Lundy, Ruben Pedreño, Patrick Sipos, Danny Moreno, and Matthijs van Erven all eliminated in that session. And Chris, you have to think that Danny Moreno being eliminated in Q1 is a big loss at the moment.
Less than 2.5 tenths first of 15th. So yet again, our incredible drivers showing how talented, how stacked this grid is. It's still bone dry and burning hot, so I would imagine we're going to have a repeat of what we saw last time around, and it's going to be who's bleeds. Well, never mind. No, never. Now we've got a bit more of a flurry of drivers. And no one on intermediates or wets, which again is fairly standard. We don't tend to see the wet weather tyres come out after Q1. Oh wow, actually a very big flurry of action. It's Joni Tormala is the first one out. I knew it was one of the Alpha Towers, but didn't know which one. So it looks like no one is sitting on their laurels this time around. As usual, everybody on the soft tyres. Now, as a reminder, they do not stick to, or they don't have to stick with the tyre they qualify on. So you really don't now see the harder tyres used in qualifying, especially at a track like this where the soft tyre really is not the favoured tyre. It just melts, especially when it's when the sun is out. These soft tyres are next to use. They're great for qualifying, but nothing else.
Yeah. Absolutely, and typically in Q2 we see scrub sets of tyres coming out, so this is the set that they used in Q1 just to set a banker time and then get a delta on the board as well, and it's typically slower than what you do on a fresh set. And I bring this up every time I commentate on a 3-stage qualifying. It's that if you have a green delta and you know, because of the scrub set, then you're going to have that sort of confidence boost. It's a psychological effect, I believe it is. And Joni Tormala just beginning his lap. I would like to thank quickly, I just missed the super chat message, but BRA Silha, I believe, hopefully I said that one right, is given 100 rand to PSGL. I believe it is rand, so don't get angry at me if I'm wrong, but thank you for that donation and that very kind message, and hopefully you're enjoying the stream, but it is much appreciated here at PSGL. Chris, what times are we seeing at the moment? Joni Tormala is on track and he's just come through the first sector.
That he is, a 28.4 for his first sector. Rand would be, if memory serves, the currency of South Africa. So again, yes, thank you very much for the donation. It is very much appreciated. What are we going to see Joni Tormala achieve? Now, Joni is, by his own admission, he's not too hot in quality, and that's an invalid lap. He's pushed it too hard through the S's, through that sector 2. It is so hard to just keep that optimum line through that section in particular, as we tend to see the margin between the optimal line and an invalid line is so narrow at a track like this. Does he go again? He is. Wow, his battery is nearly dead. But he is choosing to go again rather than jump straight into the pitch. It's Parajic with the first time on the ball with a 15.5. Wilson Hughes a 15.6. Borroman a 15.3. Marcel Kiefer a 15.4. Who's next? Beresnay 15.9. Next one over the line's an Aston. Is that to start one? I assume that's to start one, or that's an invalid one then. Who's Staulek with a 15.7. Is anybody else going to be setting a time? Let's see. One of the Mercs over the line. 15.7 for Jarno Opmeer. Then it's Benham, our sole surviving Haas. He's on a time lap, not invalid. Let's see what he gets on the board. Oh, 16.0. So very comparatively conservative times at the moment.
Of course, they're not going to be pushing too hard for their banker times. Let's see what Lucas Blakely can do, and he's invalidated, unfortunately, on entry to the final corner. Really unfortunate for him. I should get a track map actually, so I can read out the names, because I know that I mean, some circuits don't typically have names, but I know that all the corners have names around this track, so I really should get them up. I believe the final corner is Pinarino, if I'm not mistaken. And
you are mistaken. It's Peraltada.
Peraltada. Where's Pinarino? Is there a corner called Pinarino? I'm not too sure. But Peraltada, that's what it is. And we're seeing Philip Presnader going through it, but he's pulling into the pits. And I'd imagine that we're seeing everyone not really doing 2 laps in a row. There's no real point for your banker runs, and so he's going to be peeling off into the pit lane. But we do have Valentin Bruffer out on an outlap.
Jolly good. I think with Peronino, you're thinking of Interlagos. Yes, you are. You're thinking of the Esses section in the middle of Interlagos is where Peronino is.
Apologies there, everyone.
The only reason I remembered that is because I'd done an endurance event at Interlagos recently. So, yes, straight back out is Valentin Bruffer. So, of course, a shorter section. We shouldn't see as much of the kind of dead air as we had in Q1. Saying that, I think that's Jake coming back in. Wow, really, really wide line coming through the final 10 to start his next lap. Because the first one is invalid. So Donoso, Proschneider, Bruffer, Tormala, Lee, and Blakely yet to get a time on the board, having invalidated their first runs. And again, we've got a steady stream of cars coming back out on circuit. So Valentin Bruffer has actually timed this perfectly well, and not having a face full of traffic. DRS opens screaming down towards the end of Sector 1, which is the Cerro de Lago. 28.3 on the board for Sector 1. Purple Sector 1 at this stage, but again, can't read too much into that because no one has set their very best. Now it's Orquila, which is that double apex right-hander. Now into the S's. This is where most invalid laps are going to be found. And keeps it nice and steady and keeps it legal. DRS, the second DRS zone coming into the Recta del Avolo. I can't say these properly, and I apologise for that. The Forosol is this turn here, and then into the Pelotard for his time lap. What does Valentin Bruffa in the Williams get on the board? Finish line comes up very quickly. That's the 15-1. That's a little bit more like it, but we should start to see people creeping into the 14s by the time the checkered flag falls.
Yeah, that's a fresh set of tyres from Valentin Bruffa there. He's not done that on a scrub set. I'd be very impressed if he did, but now we have everyone out on circuit, either on an outlap or on a timed run. Unless you're Bruffa, you'll be on your cool-down lap, so it's up to him to get out of the way of all the drivers who he managed to avoid when they were coming out for their outlaps. As here comes Paragas now through this Solana S's, I believe it's called, and down the Transira straight in towards Essa de Lago. You can tell I've got my track map up because I know all the names of the corners now. As in towards the second sector comes Tomek Paragas. He's up by 700th of a second on his previous best, which is currently a 15.5. So it's not a really representative lap time of what they're able to do at this point. So of course he'll be improving, but through the S's, can he keep it legal on this lap as he's weaving his way through this part of the circuit? I do love it when all the drivers can hook it up nicely and get a nice time on the board, and already Tomek Paragas is looking like he's doing that. As in towards the final sector, he's up by almost 0.5 of a second. Is this going to be the first 1 minute 14 that we are seeing of the day as the Polish driver now comes through the final corner? The Peraltada turn off the exit now. What can Paragas do? And indeed this is a 1 minute 14.808. A fantastic effort from him there, but we do have the McLaren of Barry Burman to the top of the order. What a time from him. His teammate is also in that final sector now, and he'll be the next one up to cross the line. Here is Lucas Blakely, the Scot, who has been steaming in recent weeks, as to come across the line. The exact same lap time. Wow! A 1 minute 14.791 for both Barry Burman and Lucas Blakely. I mean, we've seen these guys so close throughout this season. They're separated by 1 point in the championship, but now they are doing the exact same lap times. That is fantastic to see.
To the thousandth of a second. To put that in context, a tenth of a second is how long it takes the average person to blink. That's 100 times quicker than that. My God, that's absolutely unreal. Yeah, I've seen it before. I have seen the same pole time set by two different competitors, but it's very rare. They couldn't let Tomek have his moment in the sun, could they? They had to, to rain on his parade. But wow, absolutely unreal performance. Brendan Lee, the only one yet to get a time on the board in the Ferrari. He's just coming through Orkila now and into the S's on a fresh set of tyres. So not been paying attention to his sector times, in fairness, as he's got one of the McLarens right ahead of him. Oh, that could have been awkward. But either way, he's still pressing on, coming into the stadium section now. The Forosol, or stadium as generally it is referred to as, coming towards the Pelotard now. What can the Ferrari Esports Ace get on the board? It's into the pits, I think. Yeah, that lap was compromised. So into the pits he comes. Less than 5 minutes to go. And the top 10 separated by, again, just over 0.2 of a second. But the gap between Marcel Kiefer and Piotr Starlek, so the last one in and the first one that's out, 0.02 of a second.
I mean, in recent weeks, since the beginning of season 30, we've seen Barry Burman rising to the top. Same for Lucas Blakely. Neither of them have been able to capture a title so far in their PSGL careers. They've all gone to Jarno Opmeer. But with how strong the two McLaren drivers are looking at the moment, are we going to be seeing in season 31 a passing of the guard? As I've just seen Jake Benham's actually set a time. I wasn't actually paying attention to that one there, but he's
15.066 was Jake Benham's time, slots him in 9th.
He's close to the cutoff there. He's just 22 thousandths ahead of Marcel Kiefer. at the moment, who is in that drop zone and in 11th position. And normally, well, back on F1 2021, 11th place was a fantastic place to start because, of course, you get the free choice of tyres. Everyone in the top 10 will be on scrub sets of softs that they used in Q2. But nowadays, of course, you can start on any tyre, and so there's no incentive to start P11 anymore. So Marcel Kiefer, he's going to try his best to get out of that bottom 5, and we are beginning to see some drivers peeling out of the pit lane for outlaps. This time it is Brendan Lee first, and Chris, with 3 minutes left to go in the session, he's yet to set a time on the board. Do you think the Ferrari man is going to be feeling the pressure?
Knowing Brendan, no. He always has the air, in league racing, of it never seems to phase him. If this was the Pro Series, if this was Challengers, yeah, he absolutely would. But at this stage, he's probably not letting it phase him at all. You have to remember, Brendan Lee, the very first F1 Esports champion and double champion at that. Yes, he hasn't been able to rediscover that championship winning way. But yeah, I think you're right. We could well be seeing a changing of the guard as far as PSGL champions are concerned. Jarno Opmeer taking the crown twice in a row himself. And as Paragic has parked his car with a 14.8, you probably, I'd say he's fairly good with that. This time around, I think you need to be in the 14s to be considering yourself safe. And we've already got 7 drivers now that are in that bank. So even that could be stretching it a little bit. But, Brendan is, he's driven for Mercedes and a Ferrari at very top level. He knows how to get the results. But, he's not been able to rediscover that championship winning way. And equally, Jarno Opmeer seems to be a bit off the boil in this latest title. Now, as we all know, each title has its own subtle differences. Has it, how the cars behave, how the tyres behave, how everything behaves. And sometimes it'll suit you, and sometimes it just won't. Are we seeing Jarno, his championship winning ways coming to an end? Well, that's not going to stop him pushing as hard as he can. He has had a win in this season. He won the second round of the season, so he still knows how to stand on the podium.
Absolutely, I really do hope the best for Jarno Opmeer, and he has got a similar characteristic to Brendan Lee, who we're watching at the moment, in that they've won 2 F1 Esports Championships. Brendan Lee never dropped off completely and never fell to the back of the grid, but he wasn't able to get a three-peat, and I wonder if there's some sort of 2 championship curse as Brendan Lee comes to the line, and he does a 1 minute 14.818, and I believe that should see him into the next session. It's one of the Williams up next, and it's Piotr Stahelek. He's only up by 0.06 of a second, still can go into 7th place, which is inside the top 10 and where you need to be in Q3. Valentin Bruffer, a slight correction through Peraltada, and unfortunately he is in 11th place, and that could be his day done. Philip Presnader has invalidated, still has time to go out once again. We've got one of the Alpines up next, and it's going to be Wilson Hughes to the line with the exact same lap time as Brendan Lee.
Wow.
Wow, that is fantastic. Well, Lucas Blakely
breaking
the partnership that he and Burman had. He goes to the top of the order. Barry peels off into the pit lane, but once again, we're seeing an improvement from the McLaren driver. We got Marcel Kiefer, I believe, up next in that drop zone and eliminated today. He's invalidated his lap time, and we won't be seeing him in Q3. Jake Benham has also invalidated his run, but Fabrizio Donoso, Chris, is still going on. Freddie Rasmussen, meanwhile, is on a lap, but he peels off into the pits. He knows he is safe. Who do we have up next? I think, Chris, that only it is Donoso on a timed run, unless I am wrong. Jarno's not pushing. He's only gone into 9th. If Fabrizio can get himself out of that bottom 5, he'll eliminate Joni Tormala here.
Yeah, but he's got Benham right ahead of him, so it's not ideal positioning for the Haas to be, although Jake Benham's still pressing on for some odd reason, rather than just jumping out of the way. I don't quite know why he's doing that, but what can Donoso do? What can the Chilean? Can he pull himself out of the bottom 5? He's got, a 10th at least to find, and he doesn't do it. He comes across the line in 11th, so Joni Tormala has, by the skin of his teeth, what's that? 9 thousandths of a second. No, sorry, 19 thousandths of a second. As just managed to make it through to Q3.
Yeah, some big losses here in Q2. Donoso, Bruford, Benham, Kiefer and Presnader all failing to get inside that top 10. Let's have a look at the gaps between the leaders, if I can get that on my screen now. And there it is. Look at that. The top 6 separated by less than a tenth. The top 10 separated by just over 0.2 of a second. And unfortunately, 14th place, which is where Marcel Kiefer is only 0.3 off of the very top of the order. Very tight margins here in PSGL. Unfortunate that the bottom 5 weren't able to get into Q3, but now, Chris, we head into the nitty-gritty of qualifying, because it is the fight for pole position. And who else would you predict than the 2 McLarens?
Outside of the 2 McLarens, oh, you're putting me on the spot here. I tend to go a bit bonkers. I don't tend to go the predictable route. It's difficult to look away from the 2 McLarens for the top spot. I'm going to say Peragic.
Okay. Fair enough. We've got Tomek Peragic. He was 3rd place in Q2. Let's run through your classification of Q2. We've got Lucas Blakely taking the top spot, and Barry Burman, his teammate, in 2nd place, locking out Q1 and Q2 this evening. Will they do the same in Q3? Tomek Peragic taking 3rd at the moment, and then Wilson Hughes in behind him in 4th. Brendan Lee was only, he did the exact same lap time actually as Wilson Hughes. The pair of them were both only 500ths off the back of Lucas. Freddie Rasmussen in 6th, and then Danny Berejnay in 7th. 8th for Piotr Stahalek and Jarno Otmir. Quite a lowly 9th place by his standards. Joni Tormala was the last to survive. Then the eliminated drivers are Fabrizio Donoso, Valentin Bruford, Jake Benham, Marcel Kiefer and Philip Presnader. That brings us to an end of Q2. Now we head into the fight for pole position. It is, of course, the 12-minute session Q3. Who is going to come out on top? Let us know in the live chat who you think. And Chris, I mean, I've already asked for your predictions outside the 2 McLarens, but you have to go with one of those 2. And if you go for one of them, I'll go for the other.
All right, you're on. I reckon. So I would normally go Blakely, but I'm going to go Borman this time. They're both on 2 wins, and Blakely was the one that got it last time. So I'm going to go for the man from Iran.
Okay, then I'll go with Lucas Blakely for pop. Maybe it's boring picks, you know, given how strong they've been so far, but I mean, it is so hard to deny them at this point, but that doesn't mean that they can't make mistakes. They are humans. They can make errors, and we could see one of them, another driver. There's still 8 other competitors outside the 2 McLarens. We can't just focus on the pair of them working at the Woking operated team. So we do have to consider everyone else. It is going to be a fantastic qualifying session. Let's have a look at who everyone is saying in the live chat. We've got Parimal Das saying Jarno Otmir, Zephaniah Daniel saying Freddie. We've got the VG Elite saying Blakely. Who else? We've got Vikas K saying Rasmussen. And we've got Victor Ventura saying Fred will get pole. Panda Short saying Jarno. More picks for Freddie and Lucas. And Brendan Lee I'm seeing in there as well. A shout for Barry Burman and Danny Berejnay. Raghunathan, somehow, if he's in PSGL, he might get pole position, but we do not know. I think, Chris, it is time we head trackside. But we are not seeing too much action.
There ain't a lot of point right now. That's the thing. That's what we have to remember, is that if you've got through to this tier of, the top tier of PSGL, you are already godlike. Whether you're at the top of the championship or the bottom, you're already amongst the gods. You're already, so many of these drivers are already part of esports teams, either currently or have been, or likely to become. So these are the goats. These are the crazy aliens amongst our community, as we now have some action. So however they do in the league is always, it's not so much irrespective, but they're already proven names. So But you also have to remember that leagues such as us and the likes of WOR and other major leagues where these drivers compete is not only it's not just bragging rights that these drivers aim for. That's where teams, current and prospective, look to see how their drivers do, or drivers they're looking at, how they do in a very competitive field. So it's not just a meaningless league. It will feel like that at times, but these races can be used not against a driver, but to prove a driver's worth. So it is always worth them doing well. And equally, you've got to remember, those are the drivers that are already part of esports teams. They have to still represent their brand. If they do something that brings the brand into disrepute, we've seen drivers lose even real life racing seats in some instances. So the corporate image is still very important. I'm actually just keeping it. Once I've just said that, Piotr Stahalek has just taken out a bollard coming through the stadium there as he starts his first time lap of Q3.
You're completely right about drivers having to still prove themselves, and it's not just for bragging rights. They do have to compete, and we've seen as well drivers from league racing get picked up by top teams. I'm looking at the man in P6 at the moment, despite not having a lap time, but the Alfa Romeo driver, Tomek Perejic, whilst performing so well in the Challengers Series, he's been able to prove through league racing why he is worthy of an F1 esports seat, and he's now driving for Alfa Romeo, a team who has had some fantastic past. They've won a drivers' championship as well in the name of Jarno Otmir when he was back in the team, so it could be a proving ground for Tomek, but it just proves that league racing has come such a long way from just a place where drivers can turn up, have a bit of fun on the F1 game, and then call it an evening. This is forming careers, and I'm all for it, as we are watching Piotr Stahalek, another driver who succeeded in Challenger Series and did so well. He is currently on his timed run, and we'll see as he heads through the final corners now. Peril Tada for him. What is his time going to be? What will the banker for everyone else to beat be? It is going to be a 1 minute 15.4, and I believe that they're all on once again a scrub set of tyres, so we're not seeing the fastest times coming out at the moment, but that just means the Banzai phase, as you like to call it, Chris, is going to be all the more entertaining.
Oh!
Brendan Lee, he's not on a scrub set, neither are Perejic to the top of the order.
Oh!
Fantastic laps already coming out.
A 46 is never mind. Just, again, the McLaren pair are determined to reign up. And they've done it again. That's twice tonight. We have seen. I've granted last time Lucas betted his pole time, but that's twice now. The McLaren pair have matched each other to the sound. I have only ever seen that once before in my entire commentary career, where the pole time has been matched in the same evening twice. And it wasn't by the same pair either. When I was doing a sim racing karting event, and I saw what would be the cadets and the seniors, both sets managed to match the pole time for first and second. The cadets did it, and the adults managed to do it. I've never had that again. We still have half the session to go, but that's just unreal. But again, it's Tomek's parade that has been rained on. Have a heart. Let him have his moment in the sun.
It was a much closer margin as well. I mean, it was like 400ths of a second in Q2. Now it's 4,000ths of a second separating Tomek and the two McLarens who have done the exact same lap time. Once again, it was mental that they did it the first time. To do it, I think they have to quote Anthony Joshua here, where he goes, I forgot how it goes, but it's something about the first time was so nice, I had to do it twice. And the two McLarens have done they've done that here today in Q3. Are we going to see the same lap times coming out in the fight for pole? I do not know. I really would like for it, but I don't. I mean, the odds of that happening are so minuscule. But with 5 minutes left to go in this session, we're just waiting for Berejnay and Otmir to peel off into the pits, and then we're going to have the scrap for pole.
Yeah. I got no words to that. I feel a bit for Perejic, because that's, again, godlike lap times. And by the merest margin. Before he's even had a chance to get back down to turn one to bask a bit in the Mexican sunshine, it's been beaten. So I do feel a bit for Paragic, but you cannot take it away from Borman and Blakely. They are, again, they're proving why they are the championship leaders at the moment. But like I said earlier, everybody in this tier are incredible drivers. Whether top or bottom, they're all doing a brilliant job. And also, I want to say, Joni Tormela, like I say, he's not usually a strong qualifier. I want to say this is probably one of the few times, if not the first time, he's been, certainly first time this season, he's been in Q3. So, fair shouts to the AlphaTauri there. But, almost pull a name out of a hat. And we've got some movement. It's Sir Williams. I'm assuming that's got to be Starlek, isn't it? Yes, Pietro Starlek is first to break cover as we are heading towards the Banzai phase for the last time of qualifying.
Yeah, Piotr Starlek, the lone Williams in Q3 this evening, and we've seen some fantastic showings here at the moment. You're seeing him going a little bit slowly through here on his outlap, I believe. I think if it's him burning a bit of the fuel off so he can have the optimal conditions, the lightest car possible for his final run in qualifying. And I wonder if Zach Brown is watching this at the moment and just thinking, well, Ricciardo's underperforming at the moment. We've got two McLaren drivers right at the top in PSGL F1. I wonder, can we get Lucas Blakely or Barry Borman fitted for an F1 seat? I mean, we saw Lucas Blakely in the Race of Champions, and who did he beat? He beat none other than four-time Formula 1 champion Sebastian Vettel, so who knows what they could do in a Formula 1 car. Of course I'm joking here, but I
think Jem Bulabasi would be a bit upset as he's in F2 at the moment. Huge respect to Jem Bulabasi for making it through to F2. A man that's been in this position before. It's been a rough campaign for his first year in F2, but the fact he's got there from sim racing foundations is awesome to see. As Starlek is coming through the stadium just to wind it up for the final time in this qualifying session.
Wind it up, let it rip, as here he comes in towards the final corner, scrubbing off minimum speed, running as wide as possible to get his lap underway. Let's see what the Polish driver can do. Doing his time on what I believe is a scrub set of tyres. He should have a fresh set of the soft compound on right now as he heads down in towards the first corner and through this short series of S's headed on towards the Transira straight. And here he comes, opening up the DRS, reaching speeds of up to almost 200 miles per hour at the braking zone, up on his previous best by almost 1.5 tenths of a second. So it's looking like an upwards trajectory for Piotrs in towards Horkila now, the double right-hander, where he's met now by the S's. So easy to invalidate through here. He's got to be brave and he's got to be fast, but keeping it within the boundaries of the circuit. Now Piotr Stahelek committing 100% through here, and he's doing a fantastic job of it so far. He's got an Alpine just behind him of Wilson Hughes, but look at that, up by almost 0.5 of a second. He's still got a lot of time in order to catch up to the likes of Blakely, Burman and Paragic, but it could be a respectable time nonetheless, as here he comes off the exit of the final corner. Piotr Stahelek towards the line, and he does a 1 minute 14.693. Wilson Hughes is next up, and he goes to the top of the order. He trumps the two McLarens who are in that final sector. Blakely and Burman not pushing at the moment, but what about Jan Ortmeier in behind? He's not going either. So Chris, it seems like they are winding it up for one final run in qualifying.
Yeah, I've been watching the McLaren pair. I wondered if they were trying to slipstream one another, but they've separated. They backed out of their laps, and Jarno was bearing down on them pretty quickly. But I can't confirm. But Paragic, I'm not even going to bother finishing that sentence. 14.62. What a lap from the Alfa Romeo. 14.6 is your top 5 times at the moment. My God, that is incredible. What about Rasmussen? He is coming up right behind Beresnay, actually. Beresnay's the next one over the line in the other Alfa Romeo. What can he do? 15.2. His time is a 14.8. Only sees him in 7th place. Rasmussen is next. Oh my God, a 14.5 from the Red Bull. What a time! Next one down the line is actually Starlight, but we know he's done his
we've
can't
got
even finish
Borman.
sentences. He's already done his time. Borman is next.
Pushing, and he's up by 0.08 of a second. Where can he go? He needs to find a little bit more if he wants to be able to trump Freddie Rasmussen at the top of the order, but the McLarens have been so strong in qualifying so far. What can Borman do as he comes out of the exit of the final turn? He can only go second position. Lucas Blakely's down on his best, and he has fallen at the final hurdle. Jarno Opmeer goes into 9th. Wilson Hughes peeling off into the pits, but topping Q1 and Q2, and then being 2nd and 5th place in the final parts of qualifying. The two McLarens have not had a good time, and I think that might be down to them doing 2 runs on that set of the tyres, and the tyre wearers kicked in a bit early for the softs that we know just melt away in qualifying. And around this circuit, and especially in qualifying trim, Burman was able to improve up to 2nd place, but it is Freddie Rasmussen to the top of the order. He set 1 time in this qualifying session. He just set his first lap right at the end. He was sitting lying low in 10th place. No one expected him, but Chris, he's come out of nowhere and he's snatched pole position from the two McLarens.
He's still got it, hasn't he? He's still got it, is Rasmussen. But there it is. Confirmation of your top 10. Freddie Rasmussen with Hack storming 14.546. The only other driver in the 14.5s was Borman in the McLaren. Row 2 is Tomac Paragic and Wilson Hughes, Alfa Romeo and Alpine. Then row 3 is Lucas Blakely. Will he be disappointed by that? But that's only 1.5 tenths off the top spot. And then Starlight joins him on row 3. Row 4 is Brendan Lee and Danny Beresnay, a pair that have crossed swords many, many times in the past. Then in row 5, Jarno Opmeer and Joni Tomala. I don't think Jarno is going to be too pleased about that.
Yeah, Jarno is just struggling this season to really get off the mark. He had a good race in USA, but it's not been great from the Mercedes. It's not been a convincing title defense like it has been in the past for him. He really does need to get his act in order. Luckily, around this circuit, there are plenty of opportunities to overtake with 3 DRS zones for the drivers to utilise. So Jarno has got to give it his best this evening and try and get up the order. It is going to be a very tough ask for him. But let's talk about Freddie Rasmussen. What a way to qualify. Sneaking in right at the end, snatching it from the two McLarens and going almost 0.5 tenth on pole. That's a fantastic lap from the man in 3rd in the championship.
A storming effort. Well done, Freddie Rasmussen. Doesn't do anything, though. It's where you finish that counts. But he certainly put himself in a prime position to be able to do anything about it. His championship position. So as we wait for everybody to ready up, yet again, bone dry and burning hot here in Mexico. So put away the wet tyres. You're not going to need them. And we're in for a fantastic night's race from our F1 contingent.
Absolutely. You can't all see the game scene at the moment, but it is nice and sunny. I don't see a single cloud in the sky. We are just waiting for all the drivers to amend their strategies and make final adjustments to their setup. They can't really do too much, but they can change the wing. I believe only the front wing, if I'm not mistaken. And they're just going to adjust their cars from qualifying trim over to race trim as much as they can. Lock in their strategies as well. Make sure they're starting on the right tyre. We are about to get underway for round number 6 of the PSGL Championship. Right at the end of a quick word from our title sponsors at GT Omega. Sorry about that, everyone. We have had to cut in. We didn't have a formation lap. We are underway here in PSGL and completely abrupted by that one there. As here is Burman on the back of Freddie Rasmussen, completely caught off guard. Let's see how these drivers can do. As to the inside at the end of the first corner, it is Barry Burman here, and looking now, he can't find an opportunity. Wilson Hughes is scrapping it out with Tomac Paragic in behind for 3rd place as they're all chopping and changing order throughout the Transira straight. Freddie Rasmussen getting some heat into his tyres, weaving ever so slightly. Beresnay and Opmeer are having a scrap. Opmeer to the inside of the Alfa Romeo driver at the end of the first sector here, but they are just all they're all squeezing their way through. I do apologise, everyone, for what's happened there with the advert and the formation lap, as Blakely is up to 4th. He has had a fantastic start.
That he has. The top 6 are on hard tyres. Jarno's the lead of the medium starters. Only 5 cars have gone for the softer compound, which is Otmir, Benham, Pedreño, Bruffa, and the last place Moreno. Everybody looks like they've survived the first few turns as Benham and Beresnay swap round for 8th position at the moment, and Wilson Hughes and Brendan Lee, wow, coming through the stadium. You don't often see moves there. The Ferrari rather barged out of the way by the Alpine. Bit of a gap then between Hughes and Blakely. Blakely on the back of Paragis, but Paragis has had a really good run from that final turn as Otmir disposes of Brendan Lee. He's already looking at Wilson Hughes. 2 cars along the same straight. I spoke too soon. Matthias Irvin has gone into the pits, so we have had a victim of the first lap. Or have we? No front wing. He's just gone straight onto mediums. Oh no, never mind, he's retired. So there was no front wing change on his car, curiously. So trouble for Van Irvin, the first retirement of the race.
Yeah, meanwhile, we've seen Jan Otmir have a fantastic launch. He's up into 5th position. We saw him overtake Brendan Lee and Wilson Hughes down the main straight. Jake Benham has also been able to file through into that P7 position, as here we are now on the second lap. It's a very quick run around this track. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have a quick look at the tyres. I was completely caught off guard by the formation lap being off, so I do apologise, everyone, for that. But you can see Jarno is up 4 positions. Both Benham and Pedreño are up 6 places at the beginning of this race, and then Patrick Saipos up 5. Your biggest losers at the moment are Piotr Stahalek, Joni Tomala and Marcel Kiefer down a few places, as here is Donoso getting the move on Danny Berejnay. At the end, though, of the second lap, DRS will be enabled. We're going to have our first taste of it down in towards the Delavallo corner, I believe, in the 3rd sector. Jake Benham doesn't need it as he overtakes Wilson Hughes, headed in towards the first corner, moves ahead before the braking zone, and that's another place gained for Jake. A fantastic run for him so far.
Oh, side by side, that's Donoso and Berezne coming through the first chicane, the Moita Solana S's, and it is the Hungarian that manages to come out on top of that one. Danny's lost a few positions since the start, but he's regained that one from Donoso, but that's dropped that entire pack behind the top 8 as far as DRS is concerned. So that's going to be difficult, especially for Pedreño and Bruffa. They're on the softer tyres and they need to try and make it work as best they can, which is exactly what Otmir is doing, and he's dragging Benham along for the ride. There's a bit of a gap forming between Paragic and Borreman at the moment. I think Borreman's just biding his time. He's keeping in Rasmussen's DRS range, but there's a really tight 3-car pack. Paragic, Blakely and Otmir just coming through the stadium with Benham in short order.
So the medium runners having a fantastic start. Rune Pedreño to the inside of Fabrizio Donoso. It's the yellow wall medium tyres, a step softer to the hards, and he's not able to find a way through. Valentin Bruffa is now trying to stick his nose in as at the front of the order. Meanwhile, Jan Otmir is going for the move on Lucas Blakely. So a fantastic start. He's really making the most of these mediums. So it is Rune Pedreño who's found himself in a point-playing position of P10 at this point. He doesn't even need DRS for a fantastic run for him so far this evening, and that just shows the early power that the medium compound of tyre does has, but it will run out quite quickly here. So I think these medium runners, they've got to get a move on, and certainly they are doing that so far. It's been an overtake fest already 4 laps in, as Bruffa has had a slide off the exit of Essa de Largo. Fabrizio Donoso was able to cut him back and retake that position.
Yeah, he was trying to get the move done, and Donoso just ran out of room as he was coming through Hawkila. But Donoso didn't need a second invitation of that one. Very close pack behind him of Stalek, Tormala and Sipos, Lundy, Breitschneider and Moreno. And Kiefer as well. That pack very, very close. Been a disastrous start for Danny Moreno on the softer tyres, but hasn't been able to make them work. Unlike Jarno Otmir, he's really charging hard. He knows he has to. He's got to make those medium tyres work. They're going to go to around about, I'm going to hazard get around about 12, 13 laps maybe, as he's just absolutely decimated Paragic, which is Pedreño with the fastest lap then. He's chasing off after Beresnay as Borreman and Rasmussen swap round into the turn 1 for the lead, and Jana Otmir's right there. Blakely and Benham have swapped round. They're still side by side coming through the Moises Solana S's, and it's the Scotsman that wins out on that occasion. Plenty of going on. Oh, Prishneda is in trouble. He's just dropped down to the last spot on the Aston Martin.
Yeah, a lot of overtakes being made early on. I love that there's so much variation in the strategy. It's either the hards where you have the longevity, but you have the speed early on those medium tyres. Who is going to come out by the end of this, come out on top by the end of this race? We'll have to wait and see. We're already on lap number 5 of 36. We're watching Jana Otmir in now a podium position behind Freddie Rasmussen and Barry Burman, arguably the main title rivals aside from Lucas Blakely. The top 4 at the moment, all in a high points paying position. We do love to see just how consistent they are, but Jake Benham.
Sorry to cut you off there, Dan. Blakely's in trouble. He's ghosted at least twice coming through that last turn. Benham just shot past him. Blakely could be in trouble.
There he doesn't seem too bad at the moment, but they have lost quite a bit. Oh no, we've lost Blakely. Lucas Blakely's out of this session. You see his ghosted car is going to be just riding along. That AI is not as quick as our esports drivers, and Lucas, he's going to be plummeting down the order. This is really going to hurt him, and I hope he can get back into the session. Hopefully there's a spare invite for him, but that is disaster, and I'm seeing his game has crashed, unfortunately, and well, I mean, that is heartbreaking. He's been able to get back in, but the damage arguably has been done to his race. He's still got to wait to load into this lobby and then get back into his car, and by that point he might be all the way in last position.
Could well be, but if anything is going to incite him to drive like a maniac, then falling down to 13th through 14th now through no fault of his own. He's back in the car. Lucas Blakely is just going to be mugged by Patrick Sipos coming into the stadium for 14th. So from 4th to 15th in the course of a lap. That's not ideal for one of our championship contenders, but still plenty of time to go. We'll see what he can do from 15th place.
It's a long race here in Mexico City, so Lucas Blakely, he can't give up now. Here's Brendan Lee going for a move on Wilson Hughes, and Ruben Pedreño has also gone for an overtake, and they're almost exactly the same. They pulled out, they made the move, and they pulled back over across in front of their rivals. It's Lee up into 6th and Pedreño up into 8th, but at the top of the order, Barry Burman was able to overtake Freddie Rasmussen a few laps ago, and now he leads the Mexico City Grand Prix here in PSGL. Freddie Rasmussen has done well to put it on pole, but he needs to convert that to a race win if he wants to get himself back into this championship hunt. The same goes for Jana Otmir. One of their main rivals, Lucas Blakely, has had a disaster class in terms of his game, crashing through no fault of his own, and this has got to be their prime opportunity to make up those points that they are losing at the moment as they file down in towards De La Valle corner. It is Burman leading from Rasmussen, leading from Otmir, and those medium tyres, Chris, they're not going to last forever, and I'd say they're roundabout on equal pace to those hards.
Yeah, between 12 and 15, I reckon those medium starters are going to be ditching them for the hard tyres. But of course, you take that on for the hard starters around about lap 20 at a rough guess for them to ditch the hard onto the much quicker medium tyres. So I'm not convinced starting on the mediums is the right way to go. But I mean, we've seen contra strategies work in the past. We'll see what he's able to do. But has Jana Otmir already earned the best out of those tyres? He doesn't seem to be able to close in anymore on Rasmussen, who's just keeping the gap between himself and Barman, not using much ERS energy in the Red Bull. Jarno's around about 60%. Tomek is at 40%, so he's used a fair amount. Jake is on 20%, so a lot of energy used in the Haas. That's even worse for Brendan Lee. He's nearly under 5% in the Ferrari, so he's been pushing hard to try and actually close in. I think he was out of DRS range, which is probably why he was having to burn up the battery so hard to try and get DRS back on his Ferrari. Is so powerful here that he really does need to utilise it. He'll be able to rebuild that if he can get under the rear wing of Jake Benham, who had a bit of a look on the inside of Paragic coming into the stadium there, but nothing coming. You're not really going to banzai on the inside of the Forosol turn. Wilson Hughes is also under 10%. I think he's trying the same thing. He's trying to get back into DRS range, but he hasn't managed it. He's now out of ERS energy, so he's going to be a sitting duck to Pedreño, who's got DRS, got ERS, and softer tyres. Past he goes on the Alpine. Nothing Wilson Hughes could do.
Yep, Wilson Hughes losing that DRS to Brendan Lee in front of him. He can hang on to the coattails of Rune Pedreño, who he brought back into that 1 second window that you need. Meanwhile, at the front of the order, Freddie Rasmussen just keeping Barry Burman in check. He would have gone for the move if he wanted the overtake now. So, he's just going to sit in behind for the time being and let Barry sort of punch a hole in the air, just sit in his slipstream, sit in his DRS, save his resources as well. It is sort of a strategical game that these drivers play, where they don't want to overtake early because they're just going to be attacked later on in the race. They pounce right at the final moment in a Grand Prix, but it is just a matter of when and where, as we're on lap number 9 of 36, headed on towards lap number 10. We're watching Jake Benham, who's close to the back of Tomek Karadzic, who's in the wheel tracks of Jarno Otmir. Both Jake and Jarno started on the medium compound of tyre, but I'd imagine at this point they are beginning to go off ever so slightly, as it is just way too difficult to really overtake in a DRS train, and that's sort of being a little bit of a hindrance actually to Jake at this point, because he's not been able to keep with Jarno for this part of the race. He's got that Alfa Romeo right in between the pair of them, and he's going to be certainly annoyed at that one. But here they go onto the Transira straight. Jake, he's not going to try and even close to the back of Tomek, and so we're just going to sit in a little bit of a DRS train for the time being, and I'd imagine we're not going to see too many overtakes. However though, Brendan Lee has been able to close that gap to the top 6, and he's now well and truly within that DRS train.
That he is. I think he's going to. We'll see some livelihood after the pit stops have started. So, which, like I said, I reckon in the next 5 laps is when the medium starters are going to have had enough of those tyres. It does look like, certainly judging from primarily Jarno's progress, but certainly Jake is struggling in the same way. They just cannot now close in any further on the hard runners ahead of them. So, yeah, the best has gone out of those medium tyres. That said, Jarno's gained 6, Jake Benham's gained 8 from when he started. Pedreño's gained 10. So they've utilised the best advantage out of their tyres that they can. And Valentin Bruf has only gained 1, and Danny Moreno has gained a couple. But yeah, certainly the biggest success has been Ruben Pedreño, the reserve driver in the Aston Martin. So they've done the best they can, but I still reckon they're going to set themselves up for a rough time in the second half of the race. But we will see.
I mean, they've been able to extract the most out of the mediums and really find themselves in a strong position. Granted, they will come under pressure later on in the race because they're going to be on the hard compound where everyone else is going to be on the mediums. This track does allow you though to do a 2-stop race, but I'd imagine no one is going to opt for that strategy. It is typically the slower run, and it used to be, I think, on like F1 2019 or something, that was valid. You could do a 2-stop race and actually come out quicker than all of the one-stoppers. It might have been F1 2020. My memory is a little bit hazy, but now the one-stop is the clear way to go, as we're on lap number 11 of 36, nearing the 1/3 of the way through mark. We'll see if Jarno Otmir, the leading medium runner, he's going to pit this time by. No, he's not. And I'd imagine just for the next maybe 3 or 4, maybe 5 laps, these medium runners sit in the DRS trains that they are a part of, save their tyres, try and go as long as possible to have the best tyre life towards the end of the race, where they can keep up with the medium runners.
Now, interestingly, we did have a couple of gaps in the DRS train. They've actually gone. The entire field is now the DRS train. So Pedreño's closed that gap down between himself and Brendan Lee for 6th position, enough that he and everybody behind him is in that DRS line. So Starlek is close to losing DRS off the back of Brufer, but otherwise everybody else is just kind of minding their own business, which is all well and good. It just means everybody is going to push at roughly the same point later in the race. So it's going to take someone to buck the trend before we kind of see any major changes, I think, in the kind of race order. Or it's going to be someone or that. or the dreaded track limits penalty, which is Sipos, the first one to put his name on the penalty board. It's probably going to be a pit. I was going to say it's probably going to be a pit lane infringement, either someone going in too quick or being held. It kind of depends on what people's strategy are. With the hard starters, there's generally a few laps in between optimum and starting to push too long. Of course, there's a range between optimum and pushing too long. In the hard tyres, it's a little bit more lenient. So more people can kind of roll the dice a bit more with strategy. Rasmussen was getting very close then to the back of Oroman, but he backed out of it. He could have banzai'd the inside of turn one, but he didn't want to leave himself open to counterattack. He's happy to sit there for now. It's going to be on Borman's shoulders to defend that first, more than it is for Rasmussen to attack second. As Blakely now up into 14th ahead of Sipos. That's probably because Sipos may well have made a little bit of a mistake there. Maybe now that he's earned that penalty, he's probably just being a little bit more cautious coming through that initial chicane. It's Blakely, I'd imagine there's a few colourful words under that helmet that we wouldn't be able to broadcast.
Yeah, being Scottish as well, I'm sure that's not going to help his swearing habits. I know my mum is Scottish and she does it under her breath most of the time, but I can normally hear her. As we're on lap number 13, Lucas down in 14th. I saw someone make an interesting comment. Maybe he can pull a Jarno in Austria, where of course it was actually us commentating on that one last season, where Jarno disconnected and was able to climb up through the pack, take the lead on the final lap of the race, and take the win. Arguably his best PSGL drive ever, and it was fantastic to commentate over.
I remember it well. I'd written him off. I'd absolutely written Jarno off, and he just said, hold my beer, I'm having a go with this. And he was just qualifying lap after lap after lap after lap. It was an incredible performance. But I don't think he's got enough in his tires. And although saying that, he's lifting and coasting behind, riding on board with Jarno at the moment. He was lifting and coasting coming into that next chicane, into the Essa de Lago. He lifted quite early. So he's either just not trying to push that hard, or he's got nothing left to push with, which I suspect is the latter, as we're now on lap 14. If my guess of between 12 and 15 is right, then we're going to start seeing the medium starters coming in soon.
Unless he might just be trying to save his tyres a little bit here, that could be good for him. I think just the pace at the top is sort of generally slower than all the drivers in behind, because we've seen the likes of Pedreño, Hughes and Beresnay in behind them now in that train, and we have a 19-car DRS train at the moment. Patrick Sipos just eerily got close to dropping out of the DRS of Lucas Blakely, but if that's the case, we have a 14-car train for the lead of this Grand Prix, as Brendan Lee's getting close to the rear of Jake Benham, but no one is really able to overtake in a DRS train, so we can't really expect too much at this point in the race. Once we see the pit stops coming out from the hard runners, that is when things are going to get exciting. We can expect Jake Benham, Jarno Altmaier, Ruben Pedreño, Valentin Bruffaert, Danny Moreno even. We've not seen very much of him at all so far this stream. We could see them rising and undercutting all of the runners in front, who will be on a fresh set of the mediums and then be hunting down the track position that they lost. We're nearing the halfway point of this race, and things have been a little bit mellow so far. We saw a lot of overtakes at the beginning of the Grand Prix, but so far it has been quite a quiet race here in Mexico. But who is going to buck the trend? Who's going to go for a move? We'll have to wait and find out.
Yeah, who's going to be the brave one to pull the trigger is Sipos. Just as I mentioned his name, he gets his second 3-second penalty there. So he's really making his own life difficult. No sign of pit lane entry from the top medium starters. What about Brufin? No. And Moreno. Somebody has. It's Sipos. He's had enough. He's parked it. Yeah. As we just see Moreno dance his way around Carter Lundy. So we have an overtake. Hurrah! But in doing so, they're with Sipos now retiring his car. That's actually put Moreno and Lundy in a difficult position, because they're now 2 seconds behind Lucas Blakely. So they're really going to have to work hard to get back into that DRS range. I'm just going to see, is Lucas... Yep, Lucas has just banzaied the inside of Joni Tormela. And a bit of impact between the two. It's not a common place to overtake down at Essa de Lago, but the Scotsman's decided to go for it. He's got very little, less than a quarter energy in his battery, so I wonder if he's going to start to really try and work hard to get his way back towards the top end of the field. We will see. Is now the time to do it with fairly worn hard tyres? Who knows? But either way, that's up into 13th for Lucas.
He's just got to take every opportunity that is on the plate for him, because if it stays like this, he'll be over a win behind Barry Buraman, and that's not going to help his championship hopes whatsoever. Also, Jarno Otmir and Freddie Rasmussen, who are running second and third, are going to be in a great position. Lucas Blakely is diving into the pits, as is a number of other drivers. It almost looked like, on my point of view, that Lucas might have cut the pit entry. Hopefully he's been able to avoid that one there. I wasn't really expecting him to do so, but it is the medium compound of tyre for the McLaren, as is the same for Wilson Hughes and Carter Lundy. It's hard for Valentin Brufair. Of course, he has to. He started on the mediums, but here we are now, Chris, and I wasn't expecting the hard runners to pit before the mediums.
No, that's early. That's a big undercut going on for those that are now on the medium tyre. So Hughes, Blakely and Lundy, they're going to have to think about this, because I think they'll run out of tyre, or they'll run out of very good tyre well before the checkered flag falls if they absolutely fly. They'll need to make the undercut work. They'll need to push fairly hard, but if they push too hard too quickly, they are going to run out of tyre way early. But is this going to try and spook those towards the top? I shouldn't think so at this level, but you never know. It could well incite other people to pit, as Brufa now adds his name to the penalty board. In comes Otmir. Benham has opted to continue along with Pedreño, and Brendan's come in as well. So again, another early, along with Starlek and Joni Tormela. So yeah, that's move from Blakely, Lundy and Hughes has caused others to follow suit. So just jumping on board with Lucas Blakely. He's got a face full of Valentin Brufa, because of course Brufa's on the hard tyre. Lucas can do nothing about it. He's clearly got the pace, and that's really compromised his undercut. He's now going to dance around the Williams, but that almost certainly is going to bring him out behind those who have just pitted. Oh, this is going to get a little bit close. He's just gone round Joni Tormela. He's going to have to banzai Starlek. Okay, he was. That was a bit easier than I thought it was going to be, but that got very close very suddenly. But he's now 3 seconds behind Hughes. That's going to hurt Blakely's performance. He's going to have to take a lot of life out of these tyres to bring himself back in contention.
Well, we've seen so far Jarno Otmir, Jake Benham and Rune Pedreño, they've been able to go 17 laps on this set of the medium compound of tyre. Now, of course, later on in the race, you're lighter on fuel, so you're actually putting less wear into the tyres, and that means that these medium runners can most certainly go to the end. They're not going to have the best pace towards the end of the Grand Prix, but they are certainly going to be able to make it. And Barry Buraman, Jake Benham and Rune Pedreño are all peeling off into the pit lane. It's going to be mediums for the McLaren, as is the same for Fabrizio Donoso. It's going to be hard for Jake and Ruben. Where is Buraman going to come out in regard to Jarno Otmir? Danny Moreno's coming to the bits and fitted a set of the soft compound of tyre. Fastest lap for Wilson Hughes on his set of the mediums. We're watching Brendan Lee getting close to the back of Jarno Otmir. He's peeling off to the right hand side. Now he's going to look towards the inside line, headed in towards the first corner. Can he make this move stick? Indeed he can. Two-time champion of F1 Esports, Brendan Lee, gets by on Jarno Otmir, fellow two-time champion, and the hard tyre warm-up for Jake Benham is not going according to plan, because it is going to be easy pickings for Brendan Lee and Jarno Otmir to cruise on by on that Haas car.
Now it's going to get lively. Who's made the right strategy call now? This is going to be interesting. Brendan Lee now just under 2 seconds behind Buraman. So how much battery life has Brendan got? About 33%. What about Barrowman? 92%. So yeah, Brendan is pushing fairly hard, but Jarno is doing everything he can to stay in the Ferrari's tyre tracks. In comes Rasmussen. In comes Paragic. Beresney can't come. Well, he could, but he'd stack behind Paragic if he came in, because of course they're both in the Alfa Romeo team. As Moreno now has his name to the penalty board. What the hell is Moreno doing? That has to be a mistake. How the hell is he hoping soft tyres are going to last that long? Okay, expect that Mercedes to be off and dead before too long. He's catching an interesting three-car train between Bruford, Tormler and Lundy. Right ahead of him, Starlek, fastest lap of the race. Now it really is all happening as Borman has gone round. Paragic is now going to go on the outside line of Rasmussen coming into turn one. Can he get it done? Yes, he can. The McLaren dances around the Red Bull.
Fantastic move for the Iranian driver, and he's able to get by on Frederick Rasmussen. Of course, with the cold mediums, it takes a lot to warm up the tyres on this game, and Brendan Lee knows that, and he's putting the pressure onto Tomek Paragic. A little upsy daisy and under Rooney cut there. What am I saying? That is the most awful thing I've said, but he's done the switcheroo, is what I wanted to say, and he's been able to overtake Tomek Paragic, and he's got by into P6. Now this is a net P3 for it's a net P3 for Brendan. He's done a fantastic job making this undercut work on all of the runners in front of him. Danny Berejnay and Marcel Kiefer coming into the pit lane. It is Philip Preschneider still staying out on circuit. He's going to take the lead of this race, and fair play to him. I would want to lead in PSGL PC F1 as well. Barry Borman is going to cruise easily along by both Marcel and Danny, as the fastest lap being traded by so many drivers. And look at where Lucas Blakely has found himself. He is overtaking, or being overtaken, by Donoso. I believe that it is the former, as in towards the first corner. It is Donoso on the inside, Blakely on the outside. He's got the inside for the next part of the S's, and in towards now the Transira straight for Maurizio Donoso. Has been able to muscle Lucas Blakely offline and take P9. A fantastic run for the Chilean.
Bit of a bump between the two, but no harm done, it would seem, as they're now bearing down quickly on Benham and Hughes. Jake Benham's on the hard tyres. He's had to switch over to those in the Haas, so he'll be fine later on when the mediums start to cry enough, but I think by then it'll be all too late. So the only car yet to come in is Philip Preschneider. Surely he's going to do it this time around. A kind of lap 20 was when I thought the hard starters would come in, and he's the only one to prove me right. I'm regularly wrong when it comes to tyre predictions, so I'll take that one. Preschneider, I was on board when you did that. He was too slow turning in. It probably had nothing left in the tyres, so he did his best to try and beat the hash marks. Didn't come off, so medium tyres onto the Aston. That's going to plummet him a long way down the field. So it is Borman from Rasmussen from Lee, your top three at the moment.
Brendan Lee has done well to undercut all of the runners who stayed out that little bit longer on their set of tyres that they started the race on. He's been able to take those positions, and he's now up into third. I think he was running about sixth place and behind Jake Benham. So he's done a fantastic job of making this work, as Jake and Wilson Hughes are having a scrap, and in towards Essa de Largo. Wilson Hughes on his fresh medium tyres, really not having a great time in behind Jake Benham. He's actually been overtaken, and Donoso's gone for a half spin. He's been able to save the car, but something's gone wrong for the Chilean there, and really unfortunate circumstances for Fabrizio. He's going to rejoin in 12th place behind Danny Berejnay, but a rare mistake from Donoso. The Ferrari driver has got to recuperate, try and make those positions back. Meanwhile, we'll have another look at Wilson Hughes, who's going to be 3 seconds behind Jan Watney if he overtakes Jake Benham. And Jake is doing a nice bit of work for his good friend Jan Watney here, because he's not going to be feeling any pressure from behind.
Jana, though, he's out of here, or near enough out of ERS energy. He only just was in the DRS range at the detection point, but without that ERS, he's just falling away from the top four. Unless something happens, either a safety car or some kind of collision with the top four, I think the Mercedes is not going to be looking at the podium this time around. But, I mean, anything can happen in racing, and it usually does. But Borman cannot shake the incessant attention of the Red Bull of Freddie Rasmussen. Brendan Lee is in there ready to have a fight as well, although his battery is nearly dead. So if anything, Brendan Lee needs to work more on recharging ERS energy, which is a darn sight easier for me to say than it is for him to do. I grant you that. But still, with what we've got 13 and a half laps to go, there's still time for Brendan to recharge the battery, which he's definitely going to need if he wants to challenge for those top 2 spots.
We're getting word from Track Formula at the moment that Wilson's got damage. It's not visual, so it can't be too severe, but it's certainly going to be impairing his performance, unless it might be on his rear wing or on the floor of the car, which is unfixable. And I'd imagine he's not going to want to come into the pits anyways. It doesn't seem too bad for him because he's still able to keep up with the hard runner of Jake Benham, but an overtake looking kind of off the cards for the Scotsman. We'll see if he's able to use the DRS down this main straight, get close enough for an overtake, but he has hardly any ERS to his name, and I'd imagine he's going to lift off. I'm proved wrong. He's pulling to the inside line, not giving Jake much room on the outside, but Wilson Hughes making that move stick, and now getting a tap from behind from the Haas car. He's going to have DRS once again down the Transira straight, so it's going to be very difficult for Jake Benham to re-overtake, headed down in towards Essa de Largo. Wilson Hughes has made that position up, and he's now into P6, 3.5 seconds off the back of Jarno Opmeer. It's going to be so tricky for him to get back into this fight, but we'll see what he can do with 7 laps already on that medium compound of tyre. The same goes for Lucas Blakely, who I think is having a fantastic recovery drive at the moment.
Oh, Starleck's in trouble. He's ghosted. He's fallen down the field. So something's gone wrong with Starleck. He's back in control of his car now, but that's his race pretty much concluded. He's gone from bad to disastrous for Starleck. He's not really pressing on too much. Donoso has added to his penalty count, then trying to go side by side with Danny Moreno, who's on the soft tyres at this stage. So, yeah, that's not going to make his day. That's his first penalty of the race. The only one with 2 is actually Starleck. So it's Moreno, Donoso, Brufa, and Preschneider with 3 seconds on their penalty count at the moment. In comes Starleck. That's going to be him retiring.
Well, he's not pulled the trigger yet, so I think he's going to stay on the circuit. He's not got long left in this race. It's, 12 laps? I tell a lie. He's retired in the pit lane, so that makes it 3 retirements so far today. Piotr Stahelek, Patrick Saipos, and Matthijs van Erven, a man we lost right at the beginning of the race, and it's safe to say that those guys have to just recuperate. Fabrizio Donoso is having a tough time today, as he is now being put under pressure by Marcel Kiefer and Cartalundi, and the pair of them have been able to get by on the Chilean down into 15th for the Ferrari driver. It's been a day to forget for Fabrizio, but it is a day hopefully for Lucas Blakely to remember, because it be the day he makes a fantastic recovery dive in PSGL. He's now applying pressure to the rear of Jake Benham, headed in towards Forest Sole corner. A slight mistake there, and Jake Benham has missed his apex, so Blakely is going to be all over the back of the Haas car, and off the exit of Peraltada now. Can Blakely get the power down early and try and use some of his battery to close up to the rear of the Haas? Are now opening the DRS a little bit ways down the straight. He's right on the tail of Jake Benham, who pulls to the inside line to defend. Here is Lucas Blakely. When's he going to pull to the outside line? Here he goes now in towards the first corner. Can he go late on the brakes around the outside of Jake Benham, headed in towards now the S's section? And there it is, Lucas Blakely making the move, still utilising those 9-lap-old medium compound of tyre. They're not going to be in great condition by any means necessary, as here is Jake Benham now closing in towards Essa de Largo, but he can't make up that move. He can't defend his place well enough, and Lucas Blakely, what a drive it has been for him today. He's now up into 7th.
Yeah, very much damage limitation for Lucas Blakely at this point. He's in DRS range of Wilson, but Wilson's 3.5 seconds behind the struggling Jarno Opmeer at this stage. So I don't know that Lucas is going to get too much further than potentially, well, certainly 6th. But is he going to be able to close in on Jarno in the remaining 10 laps? I mean, he certainly can. But will he have the tyres to do it when he gets there is the all-crucial question. Borman over the line again, 60-something% in his battery. Rasmussen right behind on 50%. Lee on 20%. So again, doing what he can to try and at least maintain what little energy he's got, but he's not able to build it, with Paradic on 50% right behind him in the Alfa Romeo. So Tomek could mount a challenge for that last podium spot. We will see. Jarno is very much now in no man's land, as Preschneider and Brufa now have an argument for wooden spoon avoidance at the tail end of the field. The Aston Martin has managed to get past the Williams at this point. They are just basically having an argument between themselves as they're too far back to mount a challenge to those ahead. Formula Danny, as old habit, Formula Danny, because that's the name he uses. Beresnay, he's been quietly trying to regain positions he had before the pit stop. He's started 8th. He's currently finds himself in 9th, but just kind of minding his own business, trying to work his way through the field. He's got, I think, the freshest mediums, other than Marcel Kiefer. So might be a late charge from the Hungarian. We will see, as Lucas Blakely now is right with Wilson Hughes. So I would imagine he's going to be able to fairly easily dispatch of the Alpine. Of course, as Wilson has no DRS to use, as Kiefer and Lundy now swap round. So this should be a relatively straightforward move for the Scotsman to do. We will see. Wilson could still put up fairly rigorous defence. Or is he? No, he's not going to be able to. The rate of closure is just too great. And Wilson knew it. He didn't bother to defend the inside line. And that is 6th for Lucas Blakely.
Gets by on his fellow countryman. Wilson Hughes reported to have damage. He's still been able to keep up very well with the pace of those around him. Meanwhile, Danny Beresnay going to have another crack at the whip on Jake Benham in towards Esselargo, the Haas driver defending to the inside. He knows that he hasn't got the pace on the hard tyres, so it's all about defending as many positions as he can. We'll see what he can do as he heads in towards the S's section now. He is going to have, by the end of the race, the superior tyres to the likes of Hughes, Blakely and Danny. All of those drivers on the mediums around him. At the moment, everyone, we are on lap number 28 of 36. We are nearing the end of this Grand Prix. Let us know who you think is going to win today. Barry Borremand is leading the way from Frederick Rasmussen in second. Brendan Lee has had a fantastic race up in towards third, and Tomek Paragic has had a respectable 4th place run. That is your top 4, all following within close proximity of each other. Who do you think is going to win this race as Tomek looks to the inside of Brendan Lee, headed in towards the first corner? He wasn't quite able to find a gap to go up the inside of the Ferrari driver, but he thought about it, and I do respect that. Very admirable from Tomek. He wasn't able to find a way through this time by, but I'd say he's just letting him know he's there and maybe try and forcing a mistake from Brendan.
Well, good luck with that, is what I'd say to that. But that was a bit late from Tomek. He did have to lock up to prevent slamming into the back of the Ferrari. He doesn't really need to do that. He's got time to just loiter and use his ERS advantage. If I understand I wonder whether the top 2 have got a little bit of damage that they're trying to deal with as well, but it's not slowing them down any. So if there is damage on the top 2 of Borremand and Rasmussen, it is not really hindering them too much. But as we now head through to complete lap 29, just 7 laps remain, and it's still Borremand from Rasmussen, from Lee, from Paragic, as Tormala now adds his name in 11th position to the penalty board.
In fairness, I'd actually expected a few more penalties coming out today. We've only got 5 runners still racing with penalties to their name, and how easy it is to do around this circuit. I'm quite impressed with how they've been. Finally, Danny Beresnay is able to clear Jake Benham, who's still holding that inside line in towards S's, in towards this short section of S's, but he can't quite hold that one up. As in towards now Esselargo, he's having another go, and he's going to look back up the inside of Danny Beresnay in towards this left-hander. He makes the move stick. Fair play to Jake Benham, who's on the unfavourable strategy at this point in the race. He's being able to hold up Danny Beresnay so well, while still being able to maintain DRS to Wilson Hughes just in front of him. And Jake Benham, he's even though he's lost a few positions since his initial gain in this race, he's done quite well today, and I think it's been a good drive from him.
Yeah, good move from Jake there. As now Valentin Bruffer adds to his penalty score. I think that's 6 for him now. Yes, it is. So his day getting even worse. Danny Moreno has gone on to a fresh set of soft tyres. Why not? He burned the last one out. Oh, we've lost Starlek. Oh no, that's
true enough.
Yeah.
Tomek to the inside.
Whoa.
Can he go for this one here? Can he make it stick? Tomek Parajas to the inside of Brendan Lee. He's going to be boxed in by Frederick Rasmussen. But can the Polish driver do it? Lee's off the circuit as they now head down towards the Transira Straight. They've run out of DRS. They're not going to be in that range. But Parajas to the inside of Brendan Lee. The Alfa Romeo driver lurches to the inside line. It's going to be the inside next for Lee. And once again, off the circuit this time, it's Parajas rejoining towards the outside through Horkila. They go. Oh, so close to spinning. He saved the car wonderfully there, but they might have burned their chance at winning this race now.
Oh, Tomek, I don't think you needed to do that. It's really backfired for both of them. Yeah, it's dropped them a long way back from the top two. That is going to make Rasmussen smile. Has dropped Brendan Lee out of contention for the top two. I would think he's got very little ERS energy, and Tomek's got even less. Well, it's done now. We'll see if they're able to recover that. Borman's had a fairly good drive on the exit of the final turn to give himself a bit of space between himself and Rasmussen. Because with DRS, the Red Bull will just close up slowly but surely onto the back of Borman within 0.4 of a second coming into turn one. I mean, that's at least given Jana Watmir a glimmer of hope, because if something happens to Brendan Lee and Tomek Parajas, Jana could still be on the podium, amazingly. Danny Moreno gets the fastest lap as side-by-side Bracinator and Donoso through the first chicane. A Ferrari winning out on that occasion. Now DRS open to the pair of them. Is the Aston Martin going to try and banzai coming into the second chicane? Well, Donoso defended that one in case he had a thought of it, but opted not to. Still some queues of cars. We've got 5 laps to go.
We are winding down in laps now, and we have got sort of just the top 2 left to fight in this race. I think Tomek's going to be quite annoyed that he was unable to get past Brendan Lee after all the effort that he put in there, and he's not going to be able to utilise his fresher tyres. We've lost Joni Tormala. He might have lost that somewhere there, and you can see the damage. We've got the safety car out.
Car!
What?
Oh my God, yeah.
A late turn.
Yeah, Yoni has lost that on the exit of the S's. His car is across the roads and the safety car's been deployed. Oh my God, Tomek has pitted along with Blakely and Hughes.
What?
Oh my God, half the field have pitted now, all for soft tyres. Oh my God, we're going to have 2 laps, possibly 3, of absolute carnage.
Tomek is going to be laughing at this point. He is on a fresh set of the soft compound of tyre, and he's got a whole 7-car train in front of him who have got worn out medium or hard tyres. He's going to be in a fantastic position, and they've all caught the safety car. If Borman and Rasmussen were ahead of the safety car by the time that it was called, they'd have been able to come into the pits and then match the strategy option that Tomek has gone for. But it is not meant to be, and the same goes for Lucas Blakely. I mean, we said it half-heartedly that he could pull off a Jarno Watmir in Austria in season 30. We could see it again if he's able to overtake Parajas and then get by on all of the other runners in front of him in what can only be described as potential mayhem. We could see a win from Lucas Blakely. It's going to be very, very difficult for him, but if there's a will, there is a way, Chris.
Oh yes, and we will be going the way of mania, I reckon. So the safety car will pull in on the next time around as Danny Moreno will catch the back of the field. Well, that brings him back into the race, but what a race we have. Yeah, Tomek Parajas in a brilliant position. But yeah, Lucas Blakely must be counting his lucky stars at this point, as he's now in a realistic opportunity to really push on towards those top 3. But you know that top group of 7 cars are not going to make it easy for the soft shod cars behind them, and they are not going to have much time to be able to do anything about it. 3 laps to go, of course, this one behind the safety car, and Moreno is going to be on their tail before the safety car gets to the end of sector 2. That's where the decision on whether the safety car is going to be coming in is made. So it's going to be 2 laps of absolute carnage.
We're not going to see DRS either, so they don't get the luxury of
True.
the DRS train down the straights. It's not going to make too much of a difference if no one can utilise it, but we're not going to see the rear flaps opening for the rest of the Mexico City Grand Prix. I mean, it's going to be difficult for Blakely to win today, but there is a chance, and it's just something that I would really, really love to see, and it'd be a complete parallel to what happened with Jarno Opmeer in season 30, where he disconnected during the Austrian Grand Prix, and on the final lap of the race, he was able to overtake the two drivers in front of him. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was. I think it might have been Boromand and Paragis or something. I'm not too sure at this point, but the point is, he won. There it is, Chris. Safety car in this lap.
I knew it would be 2 laps, and Paragic, I think I'm right in saying he's really on. I know he's a reserve, but he could still score points for the first time this season in F1 and could really score well. Oh, I would not want to be anyone in that top 6, because they are going to have to defend like mad, but it's up to Boromand now. And for some reason, there's a big gap between Boromand and Rasmussen, as we are now getting this race back underway. So who is going to be bravest to certainly into turn 1? Keep your eye on Paragic. He's got the greatest advantage. I'm going to ride on board with Blakely because he's got a great seat in the house. Paragic pulls out behind Carter Lundy, and Paragic gets a yellow, a 5-second ignoring a yellow flag warning. Okay, I mean, I think we could assume that could be... Oh my God, Blakely! How did you get that stopped? That was a huge move from the Scotsman. He now has his eyes very firmly set on the top group. There's, lots of jostling going on. Donoso gets Kiefer and Pedreño. Oh, what on earth happened there? Suddenly Donoso has had some kind of failure. Oh. He didn't change down any gears, wiggled away, and he's hit the wall. He's still in 5th gear, so a technical failing for Fabrizio Donoso.
Oh, that's heartbreak for Fabrizio, and he's out. He's had to retire on circuit because he can't get back into the pit lane. But what a move for Lucas Blakely, and that's where he got the nickname Blakely Bomber. Now he's got 6 cars in front of him. Can he get himself the race win? Can he get himself a podium? I think he'd be so happy with that. Through Ferrasol, he makes the move on Jake Benham. No defense there for the stricken hard runner, and here it is now. He could see himself into the top 5 by the end of this straight. Going to use the superior soft compound of tyre to close that gap. They're all going to be burning away the battery as they head on to the final lap of this race. Meanwhile, in behind, Tomac Paragic trying to make the move on Jake Benham, but in towards the first corner. There you go. He is going to go around the outside of the Haas. Can he make the move stick? Indeed, he can. We have to watch the 2 leaders at the front of the pack as well, because it's Barry Boromand trying to defend from Frederick Rasmussen. They stretch a massive advantage to their adversaries in behind. Blakely to the inside of Danny Berejnay, headed in towards Essa Delago, and now in towards Horkila. Can he go around the outside for 5th place in this race? He can. Blakely using the soft tyres. What a recovery drive this has been. Meanwhile, at the front, Boromand could be on his way to taking his 3rd race win of the season. It is going to be so difficult for Freddie to get on by at this point. Jarno Opmeer could be losing 4th place to Blakely. You can see him behind. He is making that move. He's weaving all over the track, but through now the final corners, the fireworks are going to be raising confetti all over the place, as it is Barry Boromand out to the final corner and to cross the line. It is win number 3 of this season. Barry Boromand takes victory here in Mexico City. Frederick Rasmussen in 2nd. 3rd for Brendan Lee. Jarno Opmeer was able to hold off for 4th place, and Blakely, what a recovery drive. He takes 5th.
Wow. What a way to really spice up the end of that race with that late safety car triggered by the accident of Joni Tomala. Struth. Yes. Dan is choking away. It's just been one of those races, isn't it? What a finish.
Yeah, I've had to mute myself there because I was just coughing like crazy. I'm almost out of water at this point. Oh my God, and in the heat as well. It's so difficult to commentate in these conditions, but races like that make it all worth it. What a way to finish in Mexico. It's a track that drivers don't typically favour. It's a very tricky track to get around, and I think You know, it's sort of we got Mexico next. Okay, let's get it done, get it out of the way. But they have provided a fantastic race here today, and it is Barry Borman spraying the champagne at the top step of the podium for the third time this season. Frederick Rasmussen with a fantastic drive into second place. He put all the pressure he could from pole position, but unfortunately it was not meant to be. And Brendan Lee, hats off to him as well, from 7th on the grid. He takes 3rd at the end. Jan Ortmir was able to climb from 9th into 4th, and Lucas Blakely, he started in 5th, he finished in 5th, but that does not tell the entire story. What a recovery drive, being dropped and relegated to around about 15th position. He was able to recover up the order and take a fantastic P5. Danny Berejnay ends up in 6th, and 7th goes to Jake Benham. Wilson Hughes ends up in 8th, and 9th for Carter Lundy, and 10th for Ruben Pedreño. Fantastic points for the reserve drivers. Marcel Kiefer with a penalty to his name finishes 11th. 12th for Philip Presneda. Danny Moreno 13th. Paragic after a penalty all the way down in 14th. Brufer 15th. 16th was Donoso, who retired at the end. And then Tormala, Stahalek, Saipos and Matthias Van Erven were your retirements today. But wow, Chris, what a fantastic race today.
Wow is the right word. That was insane. But I mean, Lucas gave it everything he had, everything he could throw at that. He absolutely threw, especially in that last. If we'd had one more lap, especially with DRS, I think he certainly would have overcome Jarno. Could he have had Brendan? Oh, we'll never know. But my goodness me, absolutely storming stuff. That was awesome. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. No one's come forward to have a chat with us just yet. I'm not surprised because, again, there could be some interesting moments to discuss, but we'll see if any of our top drivers come forward. Just as I say that, our third place man has appeared.
All right, well, we'll bring him in to the commentary box in just a moment's time. But before that, I think we do have to have a word from our title sponsors at GT Omega. So we'll see you at the end of this ad break. And we are back in the interview room now, and we get to talk to our race winner and our third place man, Brendan Lee, and of course Barry Burman. A fantastic race from the pair of them. I think we'll start with Brendan up first. And Brendan, let's have a think about your qualifying. You ended up in 7th. Do you think there was a lot left on the table for you there?
Half a tenth. But no, these guys are like the top of the F1 game, of course. And we're all doing it for pre-season preparation for F1 esports. I think with a different setup, of course, more potential can be on the cards. But I'm happy to not show everything. Let's say right now.
Absolutely, of course, the sandbags might still be applied for F1 esports at the end of the season. But we saw a fantastic race from you today, and you were able to come up to the podium. We saw a very aggressive undercut, and it worked out in your favour. Let's have your thinking about that strategical choice.
Well, yeah, I mean, I didn't do too much of the race practice before, so I knew roughly lap 18 the tyres could go from there. But I saw Wilson went lap 17. I also was managing the situation with Jarno and Jake on the first stint, noticing that they went to lap 16, I think it was, as well, lap 17 for Jake onwards. So I knew the tyres could make it. It was just a case of, can they make it at the end and still be in a position to fight? So I knew that if I went longer, I'm going to be undercutted by people like Wilson. And he's an extremely quick driver, so he'll be hard to overtake. So I just sent it, then went into ERS saving mode to try and defend from Tomek. Me and Tomek had an aggressive battle where we ended up off the track for a sector. But I think all in good fun. I don't think both of us gave as hard as we got. So I think it's all fair and square.
Absolutely, and you ended up P3 at the end of this race, and I kind of want to just get your thoughts on how you're feeling after achieving what is a fantastic race. You were able to make up 4 positions, and it's certainly got to feel good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting old. It's nice to see that I still got it in me.
I mean,
Getting old. Oh, we want that conversation, Mr. Lee, do we? Like,
You know, I thought about it actually yesterday. I'm 23 years old right now. In 2 years, I'm going to be halfway to being 50 years old. Trust me, I need a walking stick and one of those.
shut your face, you. I've had the great pleasure and privilege of seeing you through the early days of your esports career. One question I've actually got for you, Brendan. Certainly in the latter stages of that race, you were very low constantly on the ERS energy. Now, I've always kind of thought, especially at a track like Mexico, that it makes a huge difference having that reserve of ERS. How much of a difference does it have? Does it kind of weigh on your mind of, I need to work harder at this? Or is it just a simple case of having more is better? I mean, kind of talk us through it from a driver's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, more battery is always better. The more battery you have, the more potential you have to fight or defend with. But there was a situation earlier in the race where Lucas, I think, game crashed or disconnected. And basically that meant his AI car slowed up both myself and Wilson, and both myself and Wilson dropped out of the train's DRS. So we both had to use a lot of our battery before the pit stop window to be able to get back into the DRS fight. And then from that point, it's really hard to recover around Mexico. Even in the DRS, you're probably only saving somewhere like 5% per lap. A track like Austria, you could be saving 10, 15% per lap, for example. So once you're diminished on the ERS level, it's very difficult to get it back up. So that was my ambition, is get into the DRS of Freddy and Bari. As soon as I can do that, focus on building up the battery and hope it could be enough to defend from Tomac in the later stage of the race.
Awesome stuff.
Thank you, Brendan, for joining us in the interview room. I think we'll let Getaway and enjoy your P3. But Brendan Lee, everybody.
Bye. Bari's OP, I have to say. Bari's a goat. I have to say my love for Bari is humongous, so Bari, keep killing it. Ciao.
Nah, Brendan, don't beg it.
We've got Brendan Lee begging it in the PSGL interview room. Who would have thought it on a Wednesday night? But that leads us in perfectly to our race winner, Barry Boromand. And let's start off with your qualifying today. And you were able to, both you and Lucas were able to take P1 and P2 in both Q1 and Q2. But then in Q3 it sort of got away from you and you weren't able to snatch pole. And what happened around there?
Yeah, first of all, hello to both of you and to everyone who are watching. Oh my god, that quali, like, it was so funny. Like, me and Lucas were in the call, like, together, and then Q1, he beat me by 6,000. And then Q2, we did exactly the same lap time in the first round. And then Q3, we did exactly the same lap time for a banker. It was, like, crazy. But then, yeah, on the last one on Q3, I had actually, I would say, a really good lap, but yeah, last sector was not really ideal, a little bit messy. But yeah, I was actually happy to still get P2. And then in the race, I had a really good launch. But yeah, I didn't really want any incident lap 1. So I just didn't want to really battle Freddy in for lap 1 because, you know, you cannot win the race in lap 1, but you can lose it up. So I was like, yeah, let's just continue with Freddy. And then I overtook Freddy. And then the whole race I lead, and then I know, like, I was so much struggling, like I had a little bit less fuel, so I had to really lift and coast, then get battery and fuel in the like last, I don't know, since lap 20 till lap like 31, if I say correct, 32. But yeah, I tried to let Freddy pass, but of course we all know that this type of thing is for an esport, that second guy don't want to overtake the first one. But yeah, and then, yeah, like I had, like when I got enough like fuel, and then I had like 80% ERS, and then the safe score comes out. It was a little bit lucky for me, not gonna lie, because it makes like the second driver not gonna have DRS, which is so unfortunate for Freddy. And yeah, and really unlucky for Lucas as well. Like when I was in the car, like this, I'm not gonna take this as I get this win, because I know, like, yeah, I really wanted to battle Lucas as well. But yeah, really unfortunate for both Lucas and Freddy. Really unlucky. But yeah, GG to both of them and Brendan. who is an old man, as he said, which he is not.
I mean, in the F1 esports world, you do get to that age where maybe the rust starts to build up. But who am I to talk? Brendan Lee, if me and him were to hop into a 1v1, I think he probably lapped me in a 5-lap race. Well, maybe not that
I
bad, but
mean,
he he's still so strong, and I think that is a
yeah.
testament as to his longevity in the. After winning F1 esports in 2017 and 2018, he's still able to kick it with the younger guys in 2022. So I think it's quite impressive from him.
Yeah, like I don't know if people knows it or you guys knows it, but like F1 esport, like mentally, you're actually could be in such a good like level or like such a low level, but it's like in 1-2 seconds. But as I said, Brendan is a phenomenal driver, one of the goats of F1 esport for sure. He's a F1 esport legend. I always respect him, and yeah, and keep learning from him for sure.
That's I really do like that. I really do love that you've got that competitive respect for one another. It is fantastic to see. But now, in terms of your championship hunt, you are clear by a decent few points in this championship at the moment, at the top of the order. If I'm not mistaken, you'll be on 67 points. So it is a great run so far this season for you. And coming in towards the last few rounds of the season, it's a very short PSGL season this year. Do you think that you can sort of begin to relax a little bit, or do you still feel that pressure from those behind?
Of course, you feel the pressure. As I said, Lucas Pizel was a little bit unlucky, but it's still perfect recovery. But yeah, I mean, I just still wanna like I really don't wanna look at the points or anything if I have gap or anything. I just wanna focus, push as hard as I can, keep improving to be like more competitive, everything better for F1 esport.
Yeah, I mean, I really do like that. You're taking league racing very seriously, and it really is just a testament as to how the scene has grown. And this is really, it's teeing up to be a fantastic F1 esports season. I, for one, cannot wait to watch it in the near future. But we'll let you get away and enjoy your win. It's win number 3 of the season for Barry Burman. His championship hunt is well and truly underway. Your race winner in Mexico, Barry Burman, everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone. Have a good night.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
And that is Barry Burman's interview over and done with. I'll bring you back over to the intermission scene. And what a race here in Mexico City. It was seemingly a little bit of a procession at some points, Chris, but it really did pick up towards the end.
Yeah, you knew it was all going to kick off in that latter half. Yeah, the first half ended up being a bit processional, but when the pit stop started, my goodness me, were we in for an amazing night. And then the safety car just added yet more spice to it. Great performance from our drivers.
Yeah. And once again, this is just the pinnacle of league racing. It really does not get any better than this. And once again, it was a fantastic race from our drivers today. Barry Burman ended up with the win. And then Freddie Rasmussen came second. We never really get to hear from Freddie after a race. He's quite a private guy in his respect, and I respect that. And Brendan Lee came in third. But we do have to talk about Lucas Blakely because it was a fantastic run from him today.
What an incredible recovery from a disconnect up to 5th. Absolutely storming it. And a track like this, especially in that latter half when the overtakes were very difficult. Wow. That's all you can say to that.
Yeah, just like, I think the safety car definitely did play into his favour. But
undoubtedly, with the safety car give it, the safety car take it away. That's racing. But he was well positioned to come into the pits just at the right time and utilize those soft tires to his fullest advantage. He could easily have said, "Oh well, our game's crashed. There's no point. I'm not recovering that." But no, he got back on the horse and rode hard to still a decent position.
He could have called it quits right when he disconnected and his game crashed. He could have just said, right, I'm done, I'm not going to race for the rest of the evening, and he could have just gone about his evening, and he wouldn't have been able to complete what was a fantastic, I keep saying fantastic, I need some more superlatives. What a brilliant run for Lucas Blakely today, and it was just damage limitation at the end of it all, when it was clearly he was not going to win the race. He just had to recover as much as he did. And even in fairness to him, even before the safety car, he was able to get up from 15th to about 7th or 8th, I think it was. So, it's not all down to the safety car, and it really was an impressive race from him. Next week, we head to Japan at the Suzuka circuit, if I'm not mistaken. I think, do I have no, I don't have the calendar. I should get that on my scene for the next time. But we are headed to Japan, if I'm not mistaken, and it is going to be a very entertaining run around what is a tight and twisty circuit. But from us, I believe that is all we need to say. Make sure that you subscribe to the PSGL YouTube channel. It's the big red button that I'm pointing to right below the screen. You cannot miss it. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any PSGL action, both on the PC and PlayStation platforms. We're racing essentially every single day of the week. You can also follow us on social medias, on Twitter and Instagram at PremierSimGL, and make sure you join our Discord. The link should be in the description. You can find myself at DanFieldF1_, and you can find Chris or at KingKodiak_UK. But that is all from us. Thank you to our sponsors at GT Omega and Grid Rival. It has been a really enthralling race in Mexico, and hopefully we can see that for the rest of the season. But from us here at PSGL, it is thank you and good night.
Broadcast was brought to you by GT Omega and Grid Rival, proudly supporting PSGL.